This is Randall from Kentucky, and you're listening to Scandal Water,
where the tea is hot and the conversation lively.
Your hosts, Candy
and Ashley,
will discuss a peculiar story somehow related to the entertainment industry. This podcast might not change the world, but it just might satisfy your thirst for an intriguing tale.
Oh, it's that time of day. Tune in and hear what the ladies say. It's time to bend your ear when the silver screen appears. Stories about the stage and screen and everything in between. So come on and join the fun. The curtain opens in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Ashley.
hello.
We are back to talk about more interesting talk show topics.
Yes, we are.
Oh, this one's going to be really good, really interesting, but it starts on a bit of a dark
Oh,
note.
Why? Why are you doing this to me?
Because it's also fascinating.
Okay,
but it is dark. I'm sorry, guys. But okay, to introduce today's topic, here's an excerpt from a Vanity Fair article written by Donald Liebenson back in 2019 that tells about an incident that happened on a talk show. Okay? Quote, "The most talked about episode of the Dick Cavett show never aired. To this day, that hasn't stopped hundreds of people from insisting to Cavett that they were watching on June 8th, 1971, when guest J.I. Rodale had a heart attack and died on stage while Cavett was engaged in conversation with another guest, Pete Hamill. Rodale was dubbed the guru of the organic food cult in a New York Times Magazine profile, and during his segment, he boasted, 'I am so healthy, I expect to live on and on.'"
Oh no, and he's the one that died?
He's the one who died.
Like
Yes.
immediately after saying that?
He died while the show was still being taped, while they were on air. Now, videotape of this episode exists,
Yeah.
but has never.
Are you sure? I thought I saw it on YouTube or heard about
They,
it on YouTube.
according to this Vanity Fair article and other sources said the same thing. They said it has never been made public, nor has it ever been leaked online.
Okay.
Only a few copies exist. Dick Cavett himself has one of them. And one of the sources said that the rest of the show was actually really good, but out of respect for
I
him,
like that. Yeah,
and his family, they couldn't air any of it, Now,
So to be clear, he was the host was talking to another person when the person who passed away, but he was still
he
visible
was just still on the stage.
He
yes.
was still, but he wasn't on camera at the moment of passing.
I don't know if he was
know?
on camera.
Okay.
He might have
Like,
been.
in Johnny Carson, he'd have Ed McMahon, and then he'd have the guest there too. So
Oh
they're
yeah,
kind
I
of
think you
all-
can see him.
Okay.
Yes, I think he is. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Because
There's no editing around it.
Right. And
Okay.
the Vanity Fair article goes on to say, quote, "But the internet being the internet, many of these tales have become urban legends marked by misconceptions perpetuated by sloppy reporting and the old cut and paste. Take Rodale's death on the Dick Cavett show. It has long been misreported that when Rodale's head tilted back and he emitted a snore-like sound, Cavett asked, 'Are we boring you, Mr. Rodale?' And that Rodale supposedly said he would live to be 100 just before he died. Neither actually happened."
Okay.
And they know this for a fact because there were two authors who co-wrote a book called The Show Won't Go On, The Most Shocking, Bizarre, and Historic Deaths of Performers on Stage. And those guys were allowed to watch part of that tape as part of their research. And in that book, apparently, which is now several years old, but it apparently includes transcribed excerpts from this Dick Cavett show broadcast, including, they said, the panicked moment when Dick Cavett is upset. He's noticed what's happened, and he started to ask if there was a doctor in the house, but he knew that people might, like, it might
Panic?
cause a laugh. No, he thought that people might almost think it was kind of like a
bit?
joke. Yeah, a bit. So he stopped himself, he told these authors. So my understanding is his idea was to maybe use bits of the tape before everything went awry at the end of it, because they discovered, and it was like the last half hour, they must have continued to tape while they were panicked, while they were discovering what had happened and trying to deal with it on stage. And so, they had thought, oh, we could use these other parts, but no, out of respect for the family, no, they've never used any of it. But I started with that story because it is very sad and sensational, but I thought it was also an intriguing way to start an episode about memorable talk show moments.
Yep.
Because
That's pretty, yeah, it's pretty memorable.
Well, I mean, it's one of the most memorable talk show moments, and nobody's ever even seen it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it never even aired,
Yeah.
and yet it's a very sensational, famous event. And then I think it also brings out the point that we're all human, and sometimes our memory of memorable moments may not actually be the way it played out.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is going to be an interesting episode. I thought I would ask you. We talked about this off mic.
Yes.
Do you were a talk show watcher, right? What were some of the talk shows that you watched?
I mean, I saw different stuff. I saw the Today Show. I mean, that's not really a talk show, but I saw them. I've seen some of the Oprah Winfrey shows, Sally Jesse, Ricky Lake, like just you know,
Little hodgepodge.
Yeah, hodgepodge. But
Yeah.
no. Oh, the only talk show host I was fully dedicated to was Rosie O'Donnell. I watched a lot of her episodes because she had a lot of the trivia and the same kind of stuff I was interested in. So I probably was a faithful just her. Yeah.
Okay. I believe I've asked you this question before as well. In terms of memorable talk show moments, the one that came to your mind was
Tom Cruise jumping on the couch.
Yeah.
That's the only one I know that's memorable.
I hadn't decided actually not to do that particular memorable moment, but because I knew that it was the first one that came to your mind, I'm going to touch on it just briefly.
Okay.
It happened back in 2005, May of 2005.
I don't even know that I saw it live. I just remember it being a thing.
Well, and that's because it was one of the first viral moments. It actually came out not long after YouTube became a thing.
Okay.
And when you think about going viral, this is one of the first, right?
Oh, I have another late night. I used to watch those. So I watched David Letterman, and my favorite late night talk show host was Craig Ferguson.
Oh, okay.
I really liked him.
Yeah.
Because he was funny without being mean. Mm-hmm. I loved that. Okay,
Yeah.
so sorry. I didn't consider them
I'm glad
as talk show. That's...
Yeah, but no, I think you bring out a good point, and we're going to touch on that later in the month, as a matter of fact. There are so many variations of the talk shows. Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of this Tom Cruise appearance, he was on to promote his latest movie, which was War of the Worlds, and he had been dating Katie Holmes. Yep, she was his new girlfriend. And it's interesting because what people will say is, in terms of their memory of watching it, some people will say he jumped on the couch several times, or they'll describe what he did in ways that are not accurate to what actually happened. Oprah has offered some opinions on what happened as well. She spoke about it in an interview. They had asked her about some of her most memorable talk show moments, and she actually felt like it was pretty unfair to Tom Cruise.
Really?
Yeah. She said that she had been kind of pushing him, like she was pushing him for details about his new relationship. She said that the fans were kind of egging it on because everything he said, everybody was just screaming and applauding, and it was encouraging him to be excited about his relationship. And so she felt like everything was kind of taken out of context. And if you'd watched the whole episode and saw the way it played out, that you wouldn't have thought he was kind of as, I don't know what you would call it, as crazy acting, I guess, as people who saw just little tiny bits
the
of
little
it.
splice of it. Okay.
Yeah. And so I tried to find the full episode.
You can't find it?
Now, I didn't do like a deep dive. I
Okay.
didn't, but I Googled several times trying to find the full episode, and I did keep finding the little clips. I saw where he jumped on the couch one time. I saw a couple times when he kind of would get down on the ground and kind of do this little like crouch pose where he was like
yes.
Yeah, yes, with his arm kind of pumped, whatever. That's all I found. And then I also saw that he must have gone on to Jay Leno pretty soon afterwards, because Jay was asking about it and the audience was going wild again. And Tom Cruise, he was like playing with the audience, like they were kind of like feeding it, And he says, "I see you have a couch, Jay." And he like goes and kind of steps on it and makes this pose like, ooh, king of the world. It was almost like this was like at that point, I think
Inside
he must have
joke
thought it
almost.
was like, he thought it was a good thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like this is great publicity. People are loving this.
Yeah.
But again, Oprah said that it really turned into something that she thought was unfair to him. She said, actually, really, really, really unfair is her quote. And when she was speaking about the incident in this little interview, she said, "I'm not even going to show you a clip from it because people are going to take it out of context again." So it was
She's kind of
interesting.
protecting him a little bit.
She really was. So just a brief little
Okay.
Brief little comment on the moment that you remembered.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about several other memorable
Okay.
moments. I had fun with this. I had a lot of fun with this. I hope that I chose some moments that our listeners will remember. I mean, there were so many to choose from. So I tried to think about ones that were either really significant or they came up in all the sources, or once or twice I picked one that just delighted me.
Well, that is fine. That is what you have the privilege to do.
Okay. All right. Well, Oprah. Since I did kind of just a little quick superficial touch on the Tom Cruise couch jumping incident, I picked a different Oprah moment that I thought was bigger.
Okay. Ooh.
Do you have a guess?
I have no idea.
When she gave everyone a car.
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? You get a car. You
Yes.
get a car. You get a car.
We are still memeing it to this
Yes,
day.
we are.
People, it's crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy. So I'm about to tell you the inside scoop on Oprah giving away the cars. All right.
Oprah.
It
Maybe
was-
this is why she was so defensive of Tom Cruise, because she knew. She's like,
Maybe she's like, people are being unfair.
they're so unfair.
Well, it was September 13th of 2004 when Oprah kicked off season 19 of her show, and she wanted it to be sensational, of course, something very exciting.
Because
she-
yeah, Jerry's over there, you know.
Well, that's true,
You
right?
know?
Yeah. Well, she decided she would do a little bit of a fake out, okay? And I watched this, and it was fun.
She faked giving them a car?
Well, no, here's what she
Okay.
did. Here's what she did. She calls this group of 11 audience members on stage. And I think a lot of them might have been teachers or something. And she said, oh, you know, you're deserving. And she gives these 11 people all a free Pontiac G6. They're going nuts. The studio audience is going crazy. Then she tells the studio audience, hey, that was 11. You know what? We actually have 12 cars. And all of a sudden, through the audience, I saw mostly women. I don't know if they had men too, but
Yeah.
they had people coming out carrying these big trays of little wrapped boxes.
With the cars in them.
And they said, we're going to give everybody a wrapped box. And she kept saying, you know, don't open it yet. Don't open it yet. And you know what? I'm going to play this clip because I think this gives you a little insight of how it did play out. So here's a clip. It's a little over a minute long that shows what happened.
Now here's the deal. Listen carefully. Inside one of these boxes is a key. Do not open it yet. If your box has a key, you will be the last person today to get one of those cute little G6s. Okay? Who will it be? Are you ready? Hold on. Are you ready? JR is back in our audio booth. I want, you know, JR, this calls for a drum roll. Cue the drum roll. All right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my goodness.
You get a car! You get a car! You get a car! You get a car! Everybody gets a car! Everybody gets a car! Everybody gets a car! The reason why I was screaming the words is because other people were screaming so loudly. I thought they didn't understand or wouldn't understand what had just happened and what I was saying.
Maybe I'm a privileged individual, but I feel like I would not be losing my mind to that extent. Or maybe it's just like crowd frenzy. That seemed a little over the top reaction from that audience.
Well, here's the thing.
It's like they were hepped up on something.
They had...
That's like the Beatles were in front of them.
According to several sources, the staff, Oprah had asked her staff to try to find people who really needed a car.
Okay, that makes more sense.
People who were in need, who needed money or transportation or something.
Yes.
So these were people to whom it meant a lot.
Okay, that makes so much more sense than like, my goodness, guys.
And I think there was also the frenzy of the moment. You know, everybody's opening a box and you find the keys.
Yeah.
You know, now a cute little side note is that according to a biography article, the Oprah show had EMT standing by in case the shock of winning a new car caused some type of a cardiac issue.
Oh,
so
no.
they did anticipate that the reaction.
How many cars did she give away?
They ended up giving away 276 cars that day.
Wow.
Every one of them. Now, remember, this is many years ago. At that time, they were about 28,500.
My gracious.
So it was a whole lot of money. Now, here's the thing. Those cars were donated by Pontiac as part of a promotion for their new G6s.
That makes a lot of sense too, yeah.
So the sad note is
Didn't they get hit for the taxes on
they
it?
did, because
Yeah.
it was like winning a prize, which
Yeah.
made it even worse.
Yep.
And so these people, it caused such a furor because
Some of the people had to sell the car to pay the taxes.
they had, exactly. They couldn't even keep the car.
Yeah.
And it turned out, it was kind of a real downer, especially
Yeah.
for the show that was trying to do this good thing. And it was something that they actually ended up addressing with later giveaways. Like they
Good.
made sure that that didn't happen again. But again, such a famous thing. I mean, to this day,
Yes.
we have that meme.
You get a car. You get a car.
All right. Well, that was our first one. We're moving to a moment that's very different.
Okay.
This one, I think, has a little bit of cultural significance.
I'm wondering if these are going to, as you say them, if I will remember them, you know?
I will chime in if you do, because
Okay.
I think it'll be interesting if you do have actual personal memories of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I had two that I debated between for the Arsenio Hall show.
Oh, okay. Would Clinton playing the sax be one of
Exactly.
them? Okay.
That was my runner-up.
Okay.
Okay, because in case you're not aware, back in 1992, when Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton was running for president, he showed up on the Arsenio Hall show wearing a suit and sunglasses and played Heartbreak Hotel
Oh, was that the
on the
song? Okay,
saxophone.
okay.
Mhm. Some people criticized him, apparently, for not acting very presidential, but he...
Did he ever?
Well, there's that.
Okay.
But most people believe that the move was very successful.
Yeah,
Because it helped
made him
him
relatable.
Oh, yeah. Very relatable.
He's just like us.
He reached new voters. He appealed to a younger audience, and they think it was helpful to him in
think they're
winning
right.
that presidential race. Yeah.
I think it definitely helped him.
But the moment that I decided to focus on was really a big one.
On Arsenio Hall?
Yes.
Okay.
It's huge. And I honestly did not remember this until I started researching. So I'm going to see if you do. Magic Johnson coming on to talk about his AIDS diagnosis.
I guess I don't. I mean, I knew that he went on something to talk about it. Was it Arsenio Hall?
It was. It
Okay.
was. Yeah. Here's how it played out.
Okay.
Back in 1991, Irvin Magic Johnson made an announcement that was very, very shocking
Yeah,
at that time
that
period.
he was living with
I
HIV?
remember that. Yes, it was very, very shocking that he had been diagnosed with HIV, and he publicly announced it. I mean, this was 30 years, more than 30 years ago. Very little was known about the disease. People were terrified of it.
Yeah.
Most people thought it was a death sentence.
Yes.
Yes. So shocking really was the word. And then Magic Johnson made another very surprising move when he decided he was going to appear on the Arsenio Hall show, which, according to my sources, if I have this right, was within a day or two after he had made that announcement. Here is just a brief clip from the beginning of Magic Johnson's interview with Arsenio, where he explains what motivated him to do this.
Because he's giving Arsenio the exclusive.
Oh, yeah, it was big. It was big.
Be aware of what's going on, because as I was talking to the doctors the last couple of days, they were telling me it's like 1 million people out here that have this virus and don't even know it. You see, and so that's why I really went out yesterday and publicly said I had it, and because I want to educate the public. And we don't have to run from it. We don't have to be ashamed of it. What we just have to do is just make people aware of what's happening. And so if I can come out and educate not only, the young people, but I also have to educate the Black community as well, because it's really spreading quick through the Black community.
And there are misconceptions in the community in general.
Okay, thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, for people that notice sounds like the clicking that you heard during that was apparently on the video, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Okay.
And there was also a clarification there. It was the day after he made the announcement, because he said that.
Yeah, I don't remember this.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember a vague him talking about it. So I don't know if I remember the original press conference or if I remember this. But yeah, that would be huge. And he's still with us, correct? He's still alive?
I believe so.
So he's been living with this for 30 plus years.
Absolutely. And he's one of my celebrity sightings. I saw him when my family went to Hawaii, the one and only time that we did that. He was at a resort down the way when we took a walk.
I think I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Arsenio hadn't wanted to do the interview.
Really?
Yeah. He and Magic Johnson were such close friends. He thought he would get too emotional. Years later, in an interview, he said, quote, "I remember telling him, I'll go with you. Let's do it elsewhere. Go to Larry King." But Magic told Arsenio that it was because of their friendship and their
he felt
closeness.
safe.
Yes, he wanted to tell his story on the Arsenio Hall show. And as you heard kind of right there at the end of the clip, you heard it was Arsenio who said there are misconceptions out there. This really was kind of a PSA. He was doing this to try to educate the public, to address misconceptions, to, he said, take the shame away from it. Yeah. So it was really about raising awareness. And this actually kicked off Arsenio Hall in pursuing this cause long term. He became somebody who really tried to do a lot about, fighting this disease and the virus and some of the stigma that was surrounding it.
Well, that's good. That's some good that came from it.
Absolutely. Well, before we take our break, let's do one more memorable moment that I just love.
Okay. Well,
I absolutely love this one.
This is one that brought you delight?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. I am going to call this Jimmy Fallon Gets a Surprise.
Oh.
Do you know what it might be?
I don't.
Okay. Well, I don't think I saw it the night it aired, but I have watched the interview numerous times since then because I laugh every time. I just think this is so cute. All right, here's what happened. In 2015, Nicole Kidman came on to promote her film Paddington. And as the NBC website phrases it, quote, her appearance ended up being one of the most classic and infamous interviews from The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. I'm going to let you hear just a small piece of their interview, but just to set this up.
Okay.
He starts out by sharing, hey, I saw you a long time ago, but we haven't seen each other since. Do you remember when we met at my apartment? And she's like, oh, I remember.
Yeah.
And he starts telling about the fact that they have this mutual friend, and the friend had called him up one day. It was back when Nicole was doing Bewitched or getting ready to, and this friend says, hey, I've got Nicole Kidman with me. She wants to come meet you because she might be considering you for a role in Bewitched. And Jimmy says, he's like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? And he talks about trying to find some cheeses or something to serve them. And here's the part where they actually encounter each other at his apartment.
Okay.
So I go in, this is like, I'm on Saturday Night Live, I guess, or something. I don't remember really when it was, but...
I just remember I liked you, and he was like, not now. I'm married now. But he was like, oh, well, you can meet... I mean, I don't...
What?
It's not that way.
Wait, what? Wait, what?
So he says... So Rick, our mutual friend, says, oh, Jimmy wants to meet you and you can go over to his apartment and da-da-da-da, and I'm single, and I'm like, okay, yeah, cool.
Wait, what?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Yes.
Did I date Nicole Kidman?
Sure.
Do we
so
go
I
on a date?
over, though, and you're there in a baseball cap and, like, nothing, just like...
I had Greek cheese.
And you wouldn't talk. You didn't say anything. You were like, hey.
I didn't say, I was very nervous.
And I'm like, okay.
I didn't know this was
so
this is a thing. I thought this was a
like
movie.
a hang. It was meant to just, I don't know. And then you put a video game on or something. And I'm like, this is so bad.
Talk about missing your moment, Jimmy.
It is hysterical.
That is funny. His reaction seems genuinely like, what? Wait, what?
It is genuine. Listen to this. Okay, first, let's finish this out. That interview went on, I think it was something like 9 minutes long, and they talk about the date there at the beginning. It was so adorably
that's
awkward.
not date.
Right. And Nicole keeps calling him out on stuff. You heard her. She's like, oh, it was bad, and you wouldn't even talk. She keeps saying things. So at one point, they've kind of gone through that, and he's red. I mean, you can tell he's embarrassed, and he tries to pull it back together, and he starts to ask about the movie.
Yeah.
Nicole keeps giggling, and she will just keep calling it out. She says things like, oh, now you're trying to get serious. And then she'll be like, oh, we can't even talk to each other now. This is so awkward. And so finally, after a few minutes of trying to be serious, he just starts going back to like, and so I didn't talk to you at all. And they go back to talking about the awkward date. The audience is going nuts.
Yes.
It was adorable. Now, in preparing to celebrate 10 years of hosting The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy was asked to share some of his favorite moments on the show. I bet that was on it. In the article I read, this was the first one listed. And I don't know if that's his number one, but it was the first one listed. And this is a little piece of what Jimmy said about it. Quote, I did not know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was not scripted.
Yeah.
It did not go through a pre-interview. It was a legitimate moment a real awkward moment. I was embarrassed and she was embarrassed.
It was, you could tell it really was genuine, the
Yes.
way they were acting, because she was acting like a little schoolgirl, really.
Yes.
Like she kept laughing and like hiding behind her hair, and then she went, not that way. Yes. But it was definitely that way, Nicole.
Oh, she clearly had a crush on him.
Yeah.
And she goes on later in the interview, she's like, but you were clearly not interested. I mean, you could tell she was a little, I think, hurt back in the day that he had no interest in her. And he's so clueless. You could tell he had no idea. Now, what's fun is since then, they've made it a little joke. And a year later, Nicole came back on the show. The awkward date came up again. And then it was kind of a gimmick. She brings out Keith Urban and he's now playing into it. Like she sits on Keith's lap. And it was, now they've kind of made it a thing.
Yeah,
Several times now they've followed up on that. But I just think it's adorable.
That is adorable.
It is. And a good place to go to our break on a
Absolutely,
happy note.
yes.
And we are back.
Yes.
We are about to cover one that's not quite so happy.
Oh, no.
It's way more sensational, though.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Have you heard about Dave Letterman's revelation of the blackmail scheme?
No.
What?
What?
Yeah. Okay. This is big. This is big. You looked like you were expecting me to say something else. Were you thinking of a different David Letterman moment?
Drew Barrymore and David Letterman?
Oh, yes. Go ahead and say what she did.
I think I was actually watching that episode.
Really?
I think I really, she flashed him.
Yep.
She jumped up on his desk and flashed him. And he was not expecting that.
Right.
You could tell by his face. He was a little like, okay, that just happened.
And I think he said, thank you.
Yeah, and it was his birthday, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
They had a weird relationship.
Yeah, that is a very famous moment that came up a lot when I was researching. This one came up even more.
Okay.
Because it's so sensational.
Okay.
Here's the backstory. David Letterman and his wife, Regina Lasko, had been dating since 1986, and they had a son together. The son's name was Harry Joseph Letterman, and he was born in 2003. But after more than 20 years of dating, they had just gotten married on March 19th of 2009 at a courthouse in Montana when, just a month later, this incident occurred. Okay, so we are in October of 2009 when David opens his show one night and he asks the audience if they would like to hear a story. Now, this is long. I'm only going to let you hear kind of the beginning of how he started introducing this.
Okay.
But here's a short excerpt from that show.
Okay.
I'm glad you folks are here tonight, and I'm glad you're in such a pleasant mood because I have a little story that I would like to tell you and the home viewers as well. Do you feel like a story? This started 3 weeks ago yesterday, and I get up early and I come to work early, and I go out and I get into my car, and in the back seat of my car is a package I don't recognize and have never seen before, and don't usually receive packages 6 in the morning in the back of my car. I guess you can. I guess some people do. So I get to looking through it, and there's a letter in the package, and it says that I know that you do some terrible, terrible things.
Why are they laughing? It's so
and
funny.
I can prove that you do these terrible things. And sure enough, contained in the package was stuff to prove that I do terrible things.
You're laughing. No, guys, no. He's being serious.
It's 6 in the morning, and maybe this looks better to you at noon.
That sounds like a laugh track almost.
But 6 in the morning, all you can think about is every terrible thing you've ever done in your entire life. So I go through it, and I study it, and what this is a guy is going to write a screenplay about me. And, you know, that's good news for anyone, isn't it, really? Oh, no. And he's going to take all of the terrible stuff that he knows about my life. And he seems to, in this packet, there seems to be quite a lot of terrible stuff he knows about. And he's going to put it into a movie unless I give him some money. Yeah.
Well, at least one person
went, huh? I think, really, that's a little, and this is the word I actually used, that's a little hinky.
It's very awkward because I think the audience doesn't know what to do with it, and because he's kind of taking a little bit of that slant, a little jokey, the kind of a jokey approach. I think that they're like, I guess we're gonna laugh.
Is this a comedy monologue or? Yeah, it's not. Obviously, it's not.
But when he tells later what he did, he gets applause.
What?
I know. So, all right, here we go. Let me just kind of fill you in. He shares in this long little monologue that on that same day, he had shared the details of an extortion plot with the grand jury. Okay.
Wait. Before he went to his talk show?
Before he filmed the talk show that night, that very day, he had spoken to the grand jury. He had turned this fella in. The man turned out to be a CBS News producer named Joe Halderman, and he did indeed have evidence of Dave's affairs with women who worked on the show. In a Vanity Fair article by Nell Scoville, she said that this man, Joe Halderman, was the boyfriend of a Late Show staffer who had somehow gotten hold of her diary, I guess. And in this woman's diary, she had told about a long-time affair between Dave and his assistant, who was about 28 years younger. And it sounded like it was not only the assistant that he'd had relationships with. It sounded like it was more than one incident. But this boyfriend, this producer, Joe, threatened to write a screenplay that would expose the affair unless Dave gave him $2 million. And instead, Dave decided he was going to ruin the whole blackmail scheme by confessing on air.
Wow.
And he straight up said he did terrible, terrible things. He said he'd done creepy things. And then he does finally say he'd had intimate relations with women who worked on the show. And it did take me by surprise watching it because, again, the audience
reaction is
not... Yes, it is so odd. And like they applauded and cheered at different times.
No.
Yeah. It was very awkward and very surreal. I think surreal is a good word.
It almost sounded like a laugh track, almost like somebody pushed a button because it sounds too uniform. One of the times it sounded like somebody went, oh, but other times it sounded like a laugh track.
Maybe they did. Who knows? Yeah. Well, according to a People magazine article, quote, following a sting operation launched by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Halderman pled guilty to a charge of attempted grand larceny in 2010. He received a 6-month jail sentence, followed by probation and mandatory community service. Oh. And I didn't do a deep dive on this, but just kind of surface level Googling. I believe that Dave and his wife worked things out, and that he commented on, how wonderful she is and how gracious she was to work this out with him. Okay. Because I think he thought for a time his
I would say so.
Yeah, but it was so sensational.
That is very sensational.
Yes. Well, I thought we would end on a sentimental note.
I like that. Yes. Okay, good.
Johnny Carson.
Oh, his last
farewell.
Bette Midler
sang to him. But you know what? Because of copyright,
you can't play it.
I can't play that. So let me just tell you what happened, and I'm going to let you hear something different. Okay. On May 22nd of 1992, NBC aired their farewell episode for Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, or The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. The host was only 36 years old when he started doing that show. Yeah, it was 1962. So he was there basically 30 years.
Wow.
And most sources agree that the viewership for his final show was somewhere between 50 to 55 million. I mean, other sources said other amounts, but that's what I saw most consistently. Yeah, it was his most watched episode.
Wow.
Ever, by far and away. In fact, the second most watched episode for The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson was back in 1969 when Tiny Tim married Miss Vicky on the show, which was a publicity stunt, basically. Yeah. Although, yes, they did definitely have a marriage that lasted for something like 8 years. But that episode attracted something like 40 million viewers, and that was huge. So this is far and away, beyond that amount. Johnny's goodbye was a bit of a long one. They'd done it over time, and they'd actually had a big farewell show the night before with, as you said, celebrities like Robin Williams and Bette Midler appearing on it. Bette commented, have you seen it?
I've seen her sing to him.
Okay. I watched it again to prepare for this episode, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was so meaningful. She commented that
One more for my baby.
Yes,
Yeah.
she said, I get to be the very last Tonight Show guest. And it was an emotional version of the song, One More for My Baby. She changed the lyrics at one part to speak directly to Johnny, and the camera angle had it so that you could see him watching her sing it the whole time, and you could tell what it was doing to him. But then for the very last show, instead of sitting behind his desk most of the time, he sat on a stool in front of the curtain, the Tonight Show curtain, and he reminisced and shared some clips from previous shows. And at the very, very end, he spoke for about 1 minute to say his last goodbye.
Aww.
And I'm going to let you hear it right now.
And so it has come to this. I am one of the lucky people in the world. I found something I always wanted to do, and I have enjoyed every single minute of it. I want to thank the gentleman who shared this stage with me for 30 years, Mr. Ed McMahon, Mr. Doc Severinsen, and you people watching. I can only tell you that it has been an honor and a privilege to come into your homes all these years and entertain you. And I hope when I find something that I want to do and I think you will like and come back, that you'll be as gracious inviting me into your home as you have been. I bid you a very heartfelt good night.
Oh, it's sad.
It's sad.
I like that he recognized his friends.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Armchair psychologist.
Well, I thought that would be a lovely way to bring a close to this episode. For our armchair, I mean, those are, what is it, 5 I shared? Those
Yeah.
are very, very different,
Yes.
memorable moments. So I'm just going to ask you if you have any thoughts you want to share.
Wow, a lot of stuff has happened.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of stuff happen in this lifetime, in this world. And, you don't think that you remember pop culture touched on moments. And then this stuff comes up and you do. And it just reminds you that there's so much joy and also sadness and good and bad. And I don't know, I guess it makes me feel kind of melancholy about and sometimes people that you think are good. Dave Letterman, you think he's got good parts and then you find out this awful stuff. So it's just interesting. Life is really interesting.
Yeah. I think your comment made me think about how they are touchstones and how it brings back different parts of life, different parts of pop culture, different things that were happening in your own personal life when these things were going on.
Yeah.
In a way, it's funny. I think about it in a very positive way too. Like these talk shows that I watched, if I remember the moments or if I watch those people, it's almost like visiting a friend. Like you feel like a happy connection to these people because you have so many positive associations with them. So I really enjoyed researching this.
It was fun.
Yeah. And in fact, I'm going to tell you that I had too many memorable moments to be able to include them all in this episode. So Ashley and I had a quick talk before we started, and we decided that I was going to have to save some of those moments. We're just going to put them in the minisode.
Yes.
That is our bonus content. If you become a member on Patreon or buy me a coffee, you get access to all our bonus content. So if you would like to hear more memorable moments, there's a really good one related to, I don't know if it's good, but a very sensational one related to the Today Show that we're going to be talking about.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Does it involve a certain anchor?
It does. We have actually 3 more memorable moments that are coming. Check that out if you want to. But in the meantime, how about a cheers to our hosts, these talk show hosts who have navigated
some serious stuff.
Yeah. Ooh. So cheers to you, talk show hosts.
Definitely. Cheers.
If you love what we do, please rate and review our show or become a supporter through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. Whether a single gift or recurring monthly donation, your support is what allows us to keep the tea brewing.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Show notes are available at our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com, where you can also access the merch store and more.
This episode was executive produced by Candy Thomas, that's me, and Ashley Raymer Brown,
that's me.
It was researched and written by Candy Thomas and edited by Ashley Raymer Brown.
A special thank you to Josh Martin, who wrote, composed, and performed the Scandal Water theme and other music. Matt C. Adams, who created the artwork, and Joshua Reeve, who designed our website and provides ongoing technical support.
As a reminder, this podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. The thoughts and opinions of the host during each each episode of Scandal Water are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any future guests, advertisers, or clearly professional psychologists. Thanks for listening.